So good evening everyone, it is Saturday evening and I'm doing a little bit of feeding. It's probably about 7 o'clock almost and I'm nearly finished. Just going to feed the... I'm going to feed the Weanlings from last year's Weanlings. They're coming now almost a year old in the next couple of months. So yeah, I'm going to feed those and just putting the silage into the feeder now at the minute. So I'll bring you along for the ride as I'm doing that, and we'll get a little bit of footage then of me feeding them, of course, and then we'll have a little look at them maybe. See if we can get a bit of footage of them, and we'll have a little look at them, because I've had a few people asking to see last year's calves and see how they were doing, so that's what we're going to do today. Just trying to put the last of the silage in here now. I kind of have to split the blocks. If you put the full blocks in, you're asking for trouble. Those blocks with the shear grab, if you cut a full one out, it could be anything from 600 or 700 kilos, and to pop it in there is something's going to have to give if it happens to catch the wrong way, and it'll most likely be the chain. Doesn't happen that often, but it could happen. Now silage is in, we've a little bit of straw in there, and we've the minerals are in. I'm just putting in the soya now. They're getting a half kilo of soya per head per day. That is the soya in. Next up, there's a little bit of this grains has to go in. They're only getting a kilo of that per head per day, and then they're getting a little bit of the barley as well. So we'll put the grains in first. That is that. And our treated barley now next. So we're getting 2 kilos of barley then per head per day as well. We are going to start easing them back on that now at the end of the month. We'll just start weaning them off the barley so that they'll just be on silage then before they get out. Get out on grass. The last couple of months that they're inside, they'll be just on silage. A little bit more silage just to put in, and I'll get that, and we'll start to discharge the feed out. So just heading down now to the new cattle shed to discharge out the feed for the Weanlings. Still using the 6.4, 2850 has not been put back in the feeder yet. There was some more progress made on it this week. A few small bits just have to be finished off, not very much, but I'm not going to make a video on it now until we are more or less finished. I had got some people asking me to do to show the interior of it, and I will be doing that as well, but that'll all be in the final video as such. So just getting lined up. 6.4 is still a little bit awkward here, but kind of used to it now at this stage. Still using their trusty stick or a bit of pipe to work the controls. So yeah, we'll turn on the PTO and we'll start to discharge the feed out. So just completed feeding there a few minutes ago. Just cleaned up whatever little bit of overspill there was from the diet feeder, and we'll have a quick look at the livestock in this shed. There's a little bit of a mixed bag. We've got the two pens here on the left are Weanling bulls, and the first pen here on the right is Weanling Heifers, and the second pen on the right then is the finishing Heifers. So a little bit of a mixed bag. Yeah, the Weanling bulls, there's a mix in here of some of our own bulls from our own suckler herd, obviously, and then there's some of them has been bought in. So yeah, a little bit of a mix. Yeah, you can spot some of the ones from the dairy that was bought in, like from the dairy sector, and then there's some of our own Charolais and limousines then through it as well. But yeah, they're doing okay. Like there's probably on some of them there's probably a little bit more flesh than what we would like. There's like they're not getting that awfully much in the lines of meal. They're only getting a couple of kilos of barley, half a kilo of soya per head per day, and then the little bit of whatever silage and eat. There's a little bit of straw in that as well. So they're not on a terribly big amount of meal, but they are doing fairly well. There was a couple of smaller cattle in there. You can spot them there through it. But overall, they are growing fairly well. The GoPro maybe mightn't just be doing them justice size wise, because it makes everything look wider than what it actually is. But yeah, like these barriers were a notch higher. We had to drop them down because some of them were able to get out underneath it, and yeah, that was when they went in first. We had to drop them down, but at this stage now we could actually pop them back up because their necks now are all rubbing on them, so they're growing fairly well. But as I said earlier, like we will now at the end of the month drop back the meal altogether, and all we'll give them is silage and a little bit of soya, and that it'll still help to promote the growth of the soya, but not just flesh them up as much. These guys are all still on the second cut silage, which will be finishing also at the end of the month. So even though we'll be dropping back on the meal, when we move on to the first cut silage, the silage quality will improve, so there'll be a bit more feed value in that. So that will help to compensate a little bit of a difference in the meal. So yeah, but overall they're doing fairly well. So that's a look at the Weanling bulls. The Weanling Heifers is kind of on the same programme. Yeah, they're along the same lines. They're going to be reduced back on the meal too at the end of the month, and everything the same. So yeah, the Heifers are doing fairly well. There's actually a couple of bulls mixed in with the Heifers because we had enough space for all the bulls over this side. But we'll get them taken out this week. I've a hair test on later in the week, and we'll have them out. We have the space now that the Frisian bulls are away, so the Frisian bulls were supposed to be gone back in at the end of November, but with everything then that happened in the beef sector, we didn't get them away on time, and it kind of left us a little tight for space, even though we had a new shed up. So just the way it worked out. Now the Heifers, these here are all about 12 months older than the Heifers in the top pen. They are 12 months older than the Heifers in the top pen. And yeah, they're doing very well. They're fleshing up very quickly. They're not on a whole pile of feed. They're only on 3 kilos of barley. They're also on a bit of soya, about a half kilo of soya as well, same as the younger stock, and a little bit of straw. So they're not on a big amount of feed. We didn't plan to finish them until later on, but because we're putting it down that they're fleshing up quicker than what we thought they would. We're putting it down to the fact that silage quality is good. Barley quality is probably up on what it usually is with the good summer that we had. And yeah, cattle just seem to be finishing that a little bit quicker. So the plus side of that is that they're going to be finished with very little feed expense against them. But the downside of it is it's going to be earlier than what we had planned. We had hoped that we wouldn't have them finished until around May, and that maybe the price would be a little bit better. So pluses and minuses, it's hard to know. Maybe looking at the front page of the Farmer's Journal this week, where it says that beef will be $2.50 a kilo by the end of next month with the Brexit. Maybe it's a plus that they're going to be finished earlier, so we'll just have to see on that. But yeah, the Heifers is different than finishing bull beef. We've always finished a lot of bull beef, and Heifers they do fairly well initially. Then once they start to get anywhere near being fit, they'll go over fat obviously, and then they just sit. They don't really put on much extra weight. They put on a bit of fat on, and whereas bull beef, you can continue to feed them on. Really, like when you think a bull is finished, if you feed them on for another month or 5 weeks, then you really see them finished. So We've always liked finishing bulls, but again, going forward, it's hard to know. There's not the same demand on bull beef anymore, and probably heifers and bullocks will be certainly a lot more of them here on this farm, I'd imagine, going forward. Depending on the price, if $2.50 per kilo is going to be the price going forward, there'll be nobody finishing any beef. So again, we'll have to see what happens on that. See, some of these are licking for lice, which is a little bit annoying because they were done for lice earlier this week. We washed them all down with Tactic, mixed it up in a barrel of water, and we washed them down with it. It usually has a fairly good kill rate, but see quite a few of them is licking, both these and the Weanlings. So just have to keep an eye on that to see did it kill them. We may have to treat them again, which will be fairly annoying. So again, we'll just have to see. But yeah, that's really it. That's kind of a look at what's here and how things is doing. This week, as I say, I have a hair test to do later in the week, and that will mean the suckler cows are coming home, which is a good thing. We'll have to start to make preparations for the calving. So there'll be some videos on that, I'm sure, in the next week as well, when we get the suckler cows home, and we'll go through some of the preparations that we'll be making for the calving season. So that's really it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Until later in the week, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.